Welcome to InfoHub. In our headlines, Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu calls on men to respect and protect women. Exxon contract to be made public in December. Budget funds allocated will keep sugar industry viable. And first batch of cardiac ICU nurses graduate. Stay tuned for the details of these and more.
As Guyanese citizens who live in Guyana, we have duties to perform for the benefit of our families, communities, and ourselves. Some of those duties are legal, like obeying the laws of Guyana, and others are voluntary, like keeping our surroundings clean or voting.
One legal duty that citizens have which contributes to the national budget is paying your taxes. But you can be of greater help to your country and government agencies by paying attention to how public services are being delivered and asking questions if you have any concerns. The budget is everyone's business. Get involved now.
A message from the Ministry of Finance.
Now for the details. Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu has called on Guyanese men to take their roles seriously and to always protect their womenfolk. Details from Natasha Smith.
The Prime Minister was at the time addressing a men's forum hosted by the Social Protection Ministry as part of their 16 Days of Activism campaign against gender-based violence. The Prime Minister noted that gender equality has been foremost in the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals and that the ministry involved all stakeholders in the call to action.
Men and civil society are a part of the conversation and a part of the action plan to actively seek to rid our society of gender-based violence. I stand here today as Prime Minister, as a man, as a husband, father and grandfather, and appeal to all men to respect our women.
He urged men to support the culture of equality in all spheres of life and to put an end to the disrespect of women because of misconceptions about their economic and social status.
So for men who might feel that their women folks are no match for their aggression, I warn you, we have women power. Listen to this. We have women power today in the magistracy and judiciary. Our chief magistrate is a woman. Many of our magistrates are women. Our chancellor is a woman. Our chief justice is a woman. The director of public prosecution is a woman.
The forum was hosted under the theme, Leave No One Behind. Let's collaborate to eradicate gender-based violence.
ExxonMobil contract to be made public in December, so says Minister of State Joseph Harmon. More in today's Cabinet Roundup. Minister of State Joseph Harmon today announced that a contract between the government and ExxonMobil will be made public next month.
We also recognize that there is a need expressed by our population for greater inclusiveness, for more information to be provided, and we take those into consideration as well. I said here in one of the press conferences that we listen to the people and we are not deaf to the concerns that have been expressed by various sections of our community.
Government is working on building the capacity of local businesses so that they meet the international standards that will allow them to be awarded more contracts. The State Minister explained that there is not a preference for overseas contractors, but there are some criteria that must be met.
We are working on capacity building in the companies. The Minister of Public Infrastructure, you would recall, only recently had an extensive meeting with local contractors where they actually pointed out things that they need to do in these companies.
In this vein, the minister pointed to the establishment of a business incubator at Belvedere to assist local businesses to become more competitive.
This is to give the small businesses, small contractors, an opportunity to promulgate, to push themselves further so that they can get not just small contracts, but medium-sized and larger contracts.
Minister Harmon said too that Budget 2018 is a reflection of the administration's steady progress to the good life promised to Guyanese. This is the coalition's fourth budget since taking office in May 2015 and is worth some $267.1 billion with investments in the big-ticket areas such as public infrastructure, education, and public health. The $6.3 billion budgetary allocation to the Guyana Sugar Corporation for 2018 will go towards the restructuring process and keeping 3 identified sugar estates alive. Details from Alexis Rodney.
As Gaisuko continues on the path towards diversification and self-sufficiency, the $6.3 billion set aside for the corporation will continue the work of the 3 estates government has identified to keep the industry afloat. Speaking to the Department of Public Information today, Dr. Thomas said Gaisuko was required to prepare its 3-year plan towards self-sufficiency. The funds allocated will aid in this process.
Over the transitional period, we expect to get some finance from government. And the commitment which we asked for this coming year, 2017, is $6.3 billion.
Dr. Thomas reminded that the corporation has extracted over $30 billion from the government over the last 2 years, funds which he stressed were excessive.
They continue to finance the operations of the Gaisuko to fill the efforts that we are undertaking to try to make this existing estates that we would keep efficient, more efficient.
Last Monday, Minister of Finance Winston Jordan announced the provision to the industry, noting that government's intensified focus on the diversification and value-added production in the non-sugar agriculture sector has become absolutely critical at this point as the sugar industry continues to undergo restructuring. He said it is key to ensuring that the sector remains productive and growth-stimulating. Alexis Rodney for InfoHub.
InfoHub's Paul McAdam tells us that new standard operating procedures are in place to effectively manage the Guyana Police Force's fleet of recently donated Chinese vehicles.
Assistant Police Commissioner Clifton Hicken at the SOP's launch today explained that it was a new initiative for the force.
We have never had logistic officers in the 7 administrative divisions because of the large amount of grant, because of the interest in the grant, because it is a necessity for the police. We have realized all these areas.
He added that the new operating procedures will ensure that the force's fleet is efficiently managed and maintained.
It is expected that with the structure that we have in place, there's no room for, neglect, for want of a better term, because it will be managed from the force at the policy level and decentralized to the commanders. They have a responsibility to ensure that what is decided at the policy level is enforced by them.
Chinese technocrat O Jen is currently conducting a 2-day training session on the maintenance and use of the fleet of vehicles valued in excess of $2 million. The vehicular fleet was given as a gift to the Guyana Police Force from the Chinese government to aid in effective policing. Paul McAdam for InfoHub.
The first cohort of cardiac intensive care unit nurses graduated last evening. Delicia Haynes was there and filed this report.
60 nurses exposed to specialized training over a 1-year period are now adequately trained to perform duties in the cardiac intensive care unit of the Georgetown Public Hospital. Program coordinator Dr. Karen Thin.
The highlights that I have of what has really progressed is your knowledge. Your knowledge has been huge. We started at the basics, and the development that I've seen is tremendous. It is tremendous and is no different than I would see in any other country that I've taught in.
Despite challenges, GPHC CEO Brigadier Retired George Lewis praised the initiative instituted by the University of Calgary, noting that the nurses developing education is essential to improving healthcare.
Nursing training has been left back, while training for the doctors has progressed at a rapid pace. I'm really happy to see over the last week or so that we have graduated nurses in the post-anesthesia intensive care unit, and this evening we're graduating nurses in the cardiac program.
The CEO added that developing the nurses' capacity in specialized areas would encourage a more diligent core of healthcare providers within the public health system. For InfoHub, Delicia Haynes.
Minister of Business Dominic Gaskin has described the 2018 budget as benign, stating that the ordinary man will benefit. Today he shared his views with InfoHub's Gabriela Patra.
I think this is a budget that it would be very hard to find fault with. It's a budget that is people-focused. It certainly says to the ordinary Guyanese that, when our government is spending taxpayers' money, it is doing so for the benefit of the ordinary Guyanese.
Minister Gaskin added that this budget also provides numerous opportunities for existing and budding entrepreneurs.
The heavy focus, at least through our ministry, on small business development and opportunities for, micro and small enterprise. That was properly taken care of. We've had the Small Business Development Fund actually funded for the first time since the Bureau came into existence.
During his budget presentation on November 27, Finance Minister Winston Jordan outlined a new initiative to support small businesses in 2018. This will see the establishment of a $100 million revolving fund to finance businesses which provide sustainable and environmentally friendly goods and services. Gabriella Patram for InfoHub.
Internet connectivity for hinterland and remote communities closer to realization as the government and the UNDP sign a memorandum of understanding. Renetta LaFleur joins us with our final report.
After almost 12 months of deliberations, planning, research, project design, and consultations with stakeholders, internet connections will soon be provided to hinterland and remote communities. Public Telecommunications Minister Catherine Hughes said it will remove the community's digital divide.
The project that we're about to start will change and start the transformation. This project will look at policy development issues, including cybersecurity, new supporting legislation for the sector, improved access to government services through the use of ICT, the use of renewable and green technologies like solar technology in realizing our mandate.
The MOU is a collaborative effort between the Ministry of Public Telecommunications through the e-Government Unit, Ministry of Finance, UNDP, GRIF Fund, and the GRIF Secretariat. UNDP resident representative UN Guyana, Mikiko Tanaka, said this initiative will help to develop communities.
But in this case, a bit more expanded to remote and poor communities, not just in the Amerindian areas, so that this becomes a platform for all kinds of communications and information from government and others that the communities can access for their own development.
The MOU was signed today by Minister of Finance Winston Jordan, Minister Hughes, and Tanaka in the Finance Ministry's boardroom. Renetta LaFleur reporting for InfoHub.
That's InfoHub for today, but before we go, we encourage you to pick up a copy of our budget bulletin from a newsstand near you or read a digital copy on our website, where you can also follow us for more news there and on social media. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.
Do you know what the national budget is?
The national budget is a public record of the government's financial plans. It identifies financial goals of the government and the amount of money needed to achieve those goals during a 12-month period.
The national budget also tells the story of how the country's resources are being used and whether our decision makers are securing a good future for all citizens. It also reveals what the government sees as priority.
As citizens, you may or may not agree with those priorities, but understanding what government's decisions and plans are for the year ahead will allow you to ask questions and hold the government accountable, as is your duty. The budget is everyone's business. Get involved now.
A message from the Ministry of Finance.